now listening to The Bradshaw Boys, a podcast where three relatively grown men binge the iconic HBO series Sex and the City. So dust off those DVDs and grab yourself a white wine or even a Cosmopolitan and settle in. Take it away, boys.
Welcome to the Bradshaw Boys, a podcast where three guys watch their way through Sex and the City for the first time ever, mostly. I'm Cory Cavin.
I'm Kevin James Doyle.
My name is Jon Sieber.
And our guest today is a comedian, and I would say a Sex and the City enthusiast. Please welcome Emily Panic.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Emily, welcome to the show.
Some trivia up top?
Yeah, that's what I heard too.
Well, that's what you told me. When we talked on Instagram, you
slid into my DMs.
I slid into your DMs, and as soon as I slipped in some great trivia from SATC.
You slipped in some great trivia?
No, I slipped in. Like I slid in,
you
and then I
slipped on
slipped
it.
Like I slipped on it. I slipped.
It was
on
like
it.
a banana peel.
It was like a banana peel of trivia. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know
if comedy. Banana peels.
I don't know if I would call it trivia per se, but what I told you, which I will share now, you're all going to love this, is that I used to work at St. Mark's Comics, and they filmed an episode of Sex and the City there. Have you guys watched that one
we
yet?
watched it.
Yeah, where she starts dating the comic book guy.
Oh,
Who
yeah.
lives with his parents.
Who lives with his parents. And doesn't she, am I wrong? Does she look like his mom, or am I mixing that up?
Smokes weed with him.
and they super high together.
Right. I think I'm mixing that up with an episode of 30 Rock where Liz Lemon dates a younger guy and then she meets his mom and it looks like her.
Yeah.
Different show.
Are you, does St. Mark's Comics, did they have similar hiring practices? Just hiring weed heads?
No,
Just kidding.
I don't think so. I mean, there was only the one guy in that episode that you see working there, right? And isn't he the owner?
He's the owner, and he also draws comic books on his own.
Right.
And he's like, oh yeah, this is mine. This is like my passion
Does he draw
project.
one about Carrie?
Yeah,
Yes,
he does.
yes.
Right.
He hands her like a Carrie that he's drawn.
Yeah. So in actuality, and St. Mark's Comics actually just very recently closed, which is sad because it was a New York institution.
Mm-hmm.
Where was it at? It was on
St. Mark's Place
Okay.
and Broadway, I think, or 4th Ave.
Okay.
It was right across from Mamoon's. But when I worked there, basically there were two roles that you could have. Well, okay, so there was the owner, there was a manager, and then you were either a counter girl, which were all kind of like cute punk rock looking girls.
Yeah.
And then there was like the back issue guy, and he would be in the back of the store. And basically the owner would only expect the back issue guys to have comic book knowledge, even though most of the women that worked there did have some degree of comic book knowledge. But he was like, no, that's not your job. Your job is to essentially look cute, check bags, and then check people out at the cash register. But it's like if somebody's asking questions about certain books or whatever, then that's the back issue guy, and he has to be just a wealth of knowledge.
We got to pass you on to the back issue.
Yeah. But you just reminded me when you were mentioning, or when I mentioned actually that in that episode, the guy gives Carrie a comic book, because one time I was working there and this guy came in and he was like, I'm looking for a certain comic book. And I was like, oh yeah, what is it? I can help you out. And he was like, it's about a guy that comes into a comic book store and he meets a girl and she's cute. And I was like, oh, I don't know what that one is. And whatever.
Man.
He was hitting on me. And then eventually I realized, and I was like, oh yeah, we don't have that book.
That doesn't exist, and that is not going to exist.
So St. Mark's closed, and I know Jim Henley's Universe was another big comic store that closed. Where do people buy comic books now?
I think probably Forbidden Planet and the internet.
Midtown Comics?
Midtown Comics.
Midtown's still around? I was in Forbidden Planet yesterday.
Is that in Tribeca?
Forbidden Planet's in Soho, or it's right next to the Strand, so not in Soho. But
Is there one in Tribeca? Is there like another Midtown Comics that happens to be in Tribeca?
I'm gonna be honest. I really only ever shopped at St. Mark's. Like you weren't, It would have been frowned upon for me to patronize other.
Is there like a Sex and the City themed comic? Has anyone ever done a comic book strip or drawing with the women from Sex and the City?
I would not be surprised. I'm not sure though.
We need to look that up. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah,
I think it's kind of ironic that tons of comic book stores are closing. at the time when like comic books are literally taking over the world. It's like,
right.
you know, but it's just tough to own a business in New York and Manhattan, especially the past like
I think it's
15
also
years.
a publishing thing where you can just get stuff off the internet too.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Tough to own a bookstore.
The owner of St. Mark's Comics used to tell people that they weren't allowed to take pictures of comic books because he didn't want them to come into the store, find a book, take a picture, and then find it cheaper on the internet. So he'd be like,
wow.
you can't take a picture of that.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
Man.
that's sad.
It's funny. I was going to buy, I was looking to buy a Sonos speaker today for my apartment. And I was at the Apple store and I was like, I wonder if they have them here. And I was like, maybe it'd be good to buy it here instead of on Amazon to support retail. And I was like, this is the Apple store.
Yeah.
Fine. Yeah. They're not going to close.
I love the instinct though. But,
Well, you know.
So what's your, besides working on set, what's your relationship to the show? Are you a big fan? Have you only seen a few episodes? You've never seen it?
No, I've seen the whole series. I've never watched the movies.
Okay.
But yes, I would say I'm a big fan. I've rewatched the series.
When did you watch it in your life? Like
I watched it when I was in college, and this was after it was on. I was in college, so I was probably watching the show in like 2007. And I just remember I was living in, I was sharing a room with my best friend. We lived in an apartment in Allston, Massachusetts, because I went to Berkeley in Boston. And I made my boyfriend at the time watch all the episodes. And one of my other roommates, whose name was Brian, would always give him shit and me shit for it, like as if I was holding him hostage and making him watch it. But he very much enjoyed the show.
That's so
I'm pretty
funny.
sure. But yeah, so that's when I watched it for the first time. And it's like it's a comfort show. It's a show that I'll go back to and just watch.
We hear that a
like,
lot.
Did it influence any of your opinions of moving to New York? I mean, I feel like you probably had a pretty formed idea of like, I don't feel like you were like, it's going to be like this. But is there any, I mean, I notice, if I can say it on air, you have sort of a Carrie necklace on.
I intentionally wore this I wore my nameplate necklace. I mean, but of course, Carrie didn't invent the nameplate necklace, but it is, she did make it. I'm not going to say that she made it iconic, but it's certainly like a signature of hers that she has the nameplate. So yes, this was my little homage to
love it
to Carrie. I considered wearing a full on like ridiculous Carrie outfit, but then I was like, this is a podcast. I'm going to wear comfy clothes.
Oh, that would have been amazing.
I know. If you do it live and have me back, I'll wear something ridiculous and hideous.
That'd be great.
Done.
Full tutu. We'll do it as well.
Oh yeah,
it's a guarantee. But I grew up around New York City. Like I grew up in New Jersey, and my family's from New York. So it did not inform what I thought that living in New York would be like at all. And also because I watched it and I was like, wow, those women are so much older than me, even though they were supposed to be like the age I am now, right? Or maybe they were in their mid to late 30s.
I think it's
Charlotte's 35th birthday happens in an episode coming up. So it is.
Yeah.
I mean,
I forget. Was it Carrie's 35th that nobody showed up to? Was that 35 for her?
I think so.
And I think Samantha is supposed to be like a strong 5 years older at least.
Yeah.
So
So
I think
35 to 42 is like their age.
Right. So it's not even. Yeah. So it just seemed so like distant from where me and my friends were at. But I certainly, I think we all have had moments where something has happened and we're like, oh my God, it's just like in that episode of Sex and the City.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I feel like that. And have you lived kind of all over New York since you've been here?
I've lived in Queens and I've lived in Brooklyn.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've never lived in Manhattan.
And you're currently in Brooklyn now?
I'm currently in Brooklyn.
What would you consider yourself? Who are you?
I would say that I am, I'm definitely a Miranda. I'm a bummer too.
You know what though? That's great because Kevin and I have talked about how like everyone wants to be a Miranda now, but people have to admit like they want to be a Miranda for the social justice reasons. But people have to admit like Miranda has a thing where she's like, I'm going to make things really real right now, and I'm gonna bring the mood down a little bit. And no one wants to claim that part of Miranda,
right? And I think that that's what I most relate to that she does is that she's like very pragmatic in my mind, and she's not. Yeah, she's always the one that's just like, actually, maybe whatever she says. That's kind of a bummer. That's how I feel all the time. I see people's face and they're like,
I can
Yeah.
tell.
Do you
how
find yourself becoming incredibly attracted to bartenders who play basketball and might,
No.
no. Steve's not your type?
No, he's not. I thought about, before coming on this, I thought about who my favorite like Sex and the City guy was. And I don't think you've gotten to him yet because it's Petrovsky.
No.
And I think that's an unpopular opinion. He's like much older and he's very cold and Russian and he's an artist and he's aloof. And I'm like, that's what I'm attracted to.
Who does which one of the four does he date?
Carrie.
Carrie.
Oh, Carrie. Okay. Oh yeah, he's played by the dancer Baryshnikov.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's so funny because the way you described your job at St. Mark's Comics, and then imagine that is just the perfect person for people at comic book stores to come in and have a crush on. Just like cold, cute, not care, just being like it's like the
Open your bag. Show me what's inside. Okay.
Yeah.
Go, if you have questions, talk to the back issue guy.
She wanted to see my bag.
I'm gonna
think
tell
she
her
likes me.
I'm gonna tell her I wrote a comic book about her.
Yeah. I mean, I had guys buy me comic books in the store. Just
You
be
were
I
like-
think maybe you'd want to check this out. And I'd be like, all right.
You're like, I get a discount, idiot. I should have bought it for you.
I mean, I was like, yeah, fine, whatever.
Did you ever go on a date with anyone you met from the
No.
No, hard no.
Yeah, that's a hard no. I didn't go on a date. I didn't go on a date with anybody there, but I'm trying to think. Did I hang out with some guy there? There was a guy who I'm not sure if he was asking me out on a date, but I would see him sometimes and like I did communicate with him somehow, maybe through social media. He'd follow me or something like that. But he asked it. He was like, I need to organize all my comic books if you want to like come over and help me organize them. And, I can give you some. And I was like, I'm probably good. Thank you.
So
I mean, at that time, though, I would have probably loved to have some of those comic books, but I was like, wait a second. No,
That's a pretty sweet offer, though. I mean,
Yeah.
come over away from your job at the comic book store and help me organize my comic books.
without getting paid.
You don't get paid, and I'll give you a
pay
couple
me
of the
in
ones
comic
that I don't
books.
want anymore.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
Well, to give you some context, we're in season 4. Carrie and Big are kind of friends, but I don't think they're going to be talking for a little bit because they. So I don't know if he's in this one. Miranda is single, not with Steve.
Still a bummer.
Charlotte's with Trey.
Mm-hmm.
They were almost broken up and now they've been sleeping around town. And Samantha just got her new artist girlfriend.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know where we are.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I understand that maybe you needed to share that for the listeners.
No, it was
Somebody's-
just for you, but I
Okay,
can.
cool.
I can.
I did. I mean,
You
a
really
little-
are a Miranda, aren't you?
Yeah.
And the episode is season 4, episode 5. It's Ghost Town.
Yeah. So I considered watching the episode before seeing you guys today, just so I could be like on it. And then I was like, no. I mean, I have seen the episode before,
Right.
though. I know what happens in the episode. I think you guys are gonna.
But
enjoy
we
it.
go and watch it now together.
No,
right?
I know.
Awesome.
I didn't watch it. I just
Well-
like to be prepared.
Let's go watch Ghost Town.
All right.
We'll be back.
Episode 53 Ghost Town. Carrie gets an invitation to the opening of Steve and Aidan's new bar, Scout. Miranda believes there is a ghost in her apartment. Charlotte butts heads with Trey's mother Bunny when redecorating their apartment. Samantha's girlfriend Maria gets fed up with the many men from Samantha's past. And now, back to the boys.
Wow.
Quick question: did what you said? I feel like rings so true. What we just watched.
It's canon.
Canon.
Yeah.
Because I feel like when we see those episodes, you can feel it that you're like, this has got to be one of the ones.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a pivotal episode. A lot
Yeah, it
happens.
feels like it.
A lot
It
happens,
sets up a lot of new stuff that's going to come.
and it was
Oh, I'm so
grounded in like
excited.
real stuff that you're just like, man.
This is why a couple episodes ago, when we did we did Cosmo rating, and it was a good episode. It was the one we watched with Jera Bean.
I know.
And I was like 3.5. And I was like, I know it's good, but I rated it low because I know that there's going to be episodes like this that are like, oh, that elevates it.
Yeah, but I also think you can only rate things based on what you've seen, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's true. You can only know anything in relation
But hey, it's
to
not
what
my
you know.
podcast.
No, but
Not yet.
we talked about that in the last episode about relationships, and it's kind of the true in the way we're watching it, in which we're doing this for the first time with people who have experienced it, and it's like, oh man, it's just great. The difference between just like, wow, that was a fun, great episode, and this, where you're like, I'm feeling stuff.
Yeah.
Man.
Okay, let's go through it so we can cover all the episode stuff.
John, hit our cap, John.
Haunted by spirits of relationships past. The theme of this episode was Jacob Marley. Did you have sex with Carrie Bradshaw? Was relationship ghosts.
I'd let him chain me up.
And a literal ghost.
And a literal
They do a
ghost.
literal
Tiny
interpretation
Tim's got
of
a
the
big
theme.
dick.
Samantha's relationship with Maria is haunted by the men that she's hooked up with, and Maria coping with her past relationships. Miranda is haunted by a literal ghost, but more so haunted by the fact that Steve has opened up a bar and is still with Jennifer, the sassy blonde. Jessica, the sassy blonde version of Miranda. Charlotte is haunted by Bunny. As Trey gets sick, Bunny enters the picture and takes over their reclaimed marital home. And lastly, Carrie is haunted by none other than Big Head himself, Aidan Shaw, who's
shaved his head down.
shaved his head down, still huge,
Still didn't even help.
still the biggest
almost-
head in Scout.
Huh.
Almost looked like it got bigger. And this is coming from another
me,
big head.
who has an enormous head.
If we ever get John Corbin on here, we got to measure you guys.
Dude, I
out.
will straight up pull out a Taylor's measuring tape and we'll do a head-to-head measurement. I guarantee you I got him beat. Although homeboy's like 6'6", right?
He's very tall.
So he's got
So
me
his
by
head is
4.
more proportional.
He's got me by like 2 inches. So
It's like Andre the Giant. Like, everything on Andre the Giant. He has huge hands. Yeah, his head is probably big too.
Aidan and Steve opened up a bar together, and Carrie, of course, runs into Aidan at the bar, and that's what happens.
Okay.
Where are we at?
Where you start? What storyline should we start with?
Let's start with Maria and Samantha,
Okay.
I guess.
All right.
Okay, so Samantha is running into the ghost from just her life as a single woman around town. Just
A single, fairly promiscuous
just
woman around
a
town.
woman around town who has had
Copious amounts of relationships
relationships and intercourse with men all over town.
with men who can make really fast mojitos.
Yep.
And men who get
the
hard
worst
human beings on air
Who
and
are
off air.
hungry and have
you wanna talk
erections.
about that?
I want to talk about it.
The biggest injustice in this episode was that mint was not properly muddled. And
That's true.
offensive.
That is true.
Right.
Those mojitos.
bartender.
You're a bartender.
I am, yeah.
How long do you think to make a good mojito? Also, here's a question. As a bartender, is it a pain when someone orders something that needs to be muddled? Would you rather just be like, just order a drink that needs to be mixed?
Yeah, I used to work in a nice cocktail bar, and people would order 4 different cocktails that involved any level of muddling and whatever, various liqueurs, multiple steps and multiple shakers. And now I work at Max Fish, which is a dive bar, and we don't have fucking fresh mint. I'll make you a vodka soda or crack a beer, and that's pretty much what we
your
do.
options.
I make a margarita, but
We have a bit of an internal debate here in the Bradshaw Boys. As a bartender, can you look cool shaking 2 drinks at the same time?
I can't. I personally can't, but I do. My friend,
Is it possible?
I think it is possible.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not a good bartender. I wouldn't say. I know bartenders that are my friend Lillian can stir a drink while shaking another drink. And
Okay.
a lot of bartenders have their own special way of doing it. They'll hit the shakers together and then they shake it like this or whatever. I'm clumsy. I'm barely good at my job. So I personally don't look good. And I think if I were to shake 2 cocktails, that probably one of them would fly out of my hand or the bottom would fly out or whatever. So
That's funny.
but I do believe that it is possible.
Yeah. You made a really good argument. I'm still not convinced that it is possible to make 2 drinks and look anything
two
other than a douchebag. Well,
Yeah.
Okay.
I disagree, but
Yeah.
I see where you're coming from, but I agree with Emily that I think it can be done.
I mean, I guess if you're going both the same side and you're doing a little bit of a dance, but if you just have them both like this it looks like you're just jerking off two guys at the same time. That's all it looks like.
And so the people that are practicing jerking off.
Then fine, good practice.
And who
but-
said that's not cool though?
Yeah,
Thank you.
I think that's
Thank
very
you.
cool.
I think that's pretty cool.
I think
I'm
you
wrong.
should address your own prejudice.
I'm wrong.
Here,
Okay,
this
so-
is what I think. I think it's funny because they took a swing to be like, let's throw Samantha in a relationship, which is like such an interesting thing. And then the writers immediately were like, now that we're here, let's do. It's like they immediately turned it into just like a little bit of tourism of like, oh, she needs a dick, and it's like
Right.
all of the interesting possibilities by this episode were immediately back to Samantha episode 1 of like
Yeah.
she just like, oh, all I want is a dick,
Yeah.
and it was fun and funny and
Return
good.
to sameness. She can't escape it, man.
She
Well,
can't.
it wasn't even that she was like, I want dick. It was just that she was like, oh man, now that I'm in a relationship with a woman, all we do is talk. It's like they're playing into all these stereotypes of women as treating Samantha like she is like a man. I did air quotes for the audience at home. But yeah, so Maria's just like, I just want to talk about my feelings and blah. And then Samantha's like, oh, good. Like,
Well, one of
she
our
won't-
last guests, what
Kurt
Osterlund,
Osterlund?
I would appreciate if you didn't talk about other guests, Juan.
Sorry about that. All right, let's go forward.
Ghosts of podcast past.
Exactly.
Tell them something interesting about you.
he was an editor at Out Magazine, and we talked briefly about how just how gay men get better representations in media than lesbians.
Oh
Yeah.
And this is a prime example of
Yes.
I wonder who wrote it, but it definitely seems
Well,
like
gay
a bunch
men,
of
right?
gay
Like,
men being
wrote
like, oh,
that
fucking
show.
annoying lesbians. Like the girlfriend was an interesting character that turned into that real quick.
And then what happens when she gets mad? She acts like an hysterical woman.
She got
Yes,
crazy.
like, come on.
Just started smashing plates.
But I also did like I wrote it down in my notes while I was watching it. I don't know if you guys are into astrology at all, but I was like, oh, Maria's a Cancer. Like the whole time she's like kind of sensitive, but then she sort of blows up, but then she comes back and she's like, I was, worried you didn't call, and like
What's the sign for a Cancer?
it looks like
You
the
have to get a
69.
biopsy.
It's a crab.
Looks like the same. Well, yeah, it's Cancer the crab. I'm a Cancer, but I don't.
okay.
I'm not like that.
What's your birthday?
July 15.
I'm July 8th.
What
so
is
I'm
a
Cancer
what,
too.
what would a Virgo be like in terms of like how they would like if a Cancer is like, oh, they're like a slow burn until they explode and then they're like, I missed you. What would a Virgo be?
I feel like Virgos are pretty stoic and not good at expressing emotion.
man,
I could be wrong, and I don't know. Maybe the listeners will fucking correct me. I don't know.
I'm a Virgo, and I feel like I think is that right? I feel like I'm kind of. Am I stoic? I think a Virgo. I think I just don't know what I am.
You can express emotion, but I don't think that's like your first instinct.
Yeah, that's true.
I cry a lot.
That's true. I'm crying right now. I
Yeah.
have tears streaming down my face right now. No, yeah, that's true. But I was asking because I do feel like I relate with the like, oh, I don't know. And then it's like, I know now. And then it's like, oh gosh, I'm sorry. I got angry.
What about Libra? I'm a Libra.
I'm a Libra rising. I don't know. I actually don't know as much about Libra.
What does that mean, Libra rising?
There.
Well, the
So-
first album.
So you have like
Oh, the Libra rising. Here come the Libra rising on the streets of Philadelphia.
That is a Bruce Springsteen album that came out soon after 9/11. It's a concept album about
Is it about 9/11?
the whole album. The Rising is about
It's about America rising again.
Yeah.
I thought it was about astrological signs.
Okay,
Anyway,
sorry.
continue.
it could be both.
What does it mean again? The Libra rising.
You have like a birth chart, and it's based on the position of the planets, at the time and location where you were born. So if you were to like, there's places you can punch it in to like a website, and it tells you which planets are in which houses. But the three main ones are your sun, your moon, and your rising sign.
Yeah.
So like I'm a Cancer, Sun, Pisces, Moon, Libra rising.
Okay.
So it's like not just your personality is not only dictated. I mean, if we're all assuming that astrology, if that's our base reality, then
But that actually makes more sense than just being like, here's the thing, that it's like there's other colors of like that's a more nuanced
there's
version of
exactly.
astrology.
It's not like you're not just represented by your sun sign, but that's the one that most people know.
Right.
So you have like a rising and a moon sign.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I think.
Okay, so what do we think? What do we think Trey is?
Well, before we get into
Okay,
that,
okay.
I would love for Cory to share with the bit of research we did about the guy that came to
Oh yes.
Samantha's house.
This is fucking so
okay.
It was hard from walking up the stairs and
let's-
wanted at least a sandwich.
Can we
Let's all
first
set
say
it up.
what he did? Yeah.
This is 100% true.
No, wait. Are we
No,
gonna
no, no,
say-
like what the character did.
Yeah.
So his name is Sean, correct?
Oh, I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it was Sean because this is the actor that I looked up on IMDb.
Right.
So what he did is Maria and Samantha are at that one bar. She takes her out for nights. Like I wanted to.
Is it the same guy from the bar? Who then shows up at the door?
Yeah, I
Let-
think it's
let-
like,
oh,
who's
okay,
like,
okay,
I'm in
okay.
town.
He's back in town.
Right.
And he goes up to Samantha and he hits on her.
He's like, hey, sweetheart,
he
whatever
was
he
like
says.
creepily rubbing her arm with the back of his fingers too.
Right.
Did you notice that?
Oh yeah. And Maria's just like kind of watching it all happen. And Samantha's like not engaging, but also not being like, hey, I'm here with my girlfriend.
She's doing kind of the thing that maybe most of us would do if we were like with our current partner and an ex came up and was acting like that. I'd be like,
Right.
well, I can't really right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then he goes ahead and he lets himself into her apartment,
Yep.
bangs on her door at 3 a.m. and tells her that he's hard from just walking up the stairs.
I'm on the
which
third floor
same.
walkout then, just so you know.
Every true.
And then when he finds out that she's like talking to him, she's like, this isn't a good time. And then Maria comes up and she's like, I'm Maria. I'm her girlfriend. And he's like, ooh, girlfriend. Nice. And he's like, so maybe you two could make me a sandwich.
Oh my gosh.
Because like, that's where your mind goes. If it's
The guy is basically the opposite of he's the opposite of Trey. He's like anti-Trey.
Yeah.
Like walking upstairs gets him hard.
He's negative
He doesn't
Trey.
have mom issues.
Yeah.
He doesn't say alrighty then. He's rude to women.
Was the sandwich thing a
seen it.
woman thing or was it like an erotic thing or both? Was it just
I
like,
feel
oh,
like
you're
it was
two
a
women,
woman
make me a
thing.
sandwich?
But where I would think that character would go would be that because he's like clearly, I mean, it's a booty call. He's knocking on her
Yeah.
door. Then he'd be like, maybe we can have a
That's what
threesome. But then he's like, well, my erection's whatever. Can I have a sandwich?
Yeah.
He's
like, I love sex, but you know what I like
Yeah.
more?
Jimmy John's.
Yeah.
Okay, so the actor that played Sean, if you look him up on IMDb, here's the first fact of trivia about him. This is the guy that asked for a sandwich from two lesbians. In 2007, he was charged with aggravated animal cruelty after killing a cat belonging to his girlfriend. Prosecutors claim that he intentionally beat Norman the cat to death because he believed that his girlfriend cared more about the animal than him.
Oh my God.
His defense attorney stated that his client admitted kicking and hitting the cat, but that he did not mean to kill him and that the animal's death was a tragic accident.
If she had just made him a sandwich,
Oh my God.
I know.
Norman would still be alive.
Wait, and then he faced a maximum 2 years of convicted. It ended in a hung jury. He pled guilty to aggravated animal cruelty and was sentenced to 500 hours of community service.
I mean,
First Grumpy Cat and now Norman. I can't take this week
Yeah.
anymore, guys.
so many cats are dying.
based on I don't know.
They-
Okay, I missed it.
they just
I was
made
gonna
him-
make a well hung jury joke. but
Oh,
no.
well, speaking of well hung, his real sentence was they just made him get on a Stairmaster so he had an eternal boner.
I would say that's low hanging fruit.
Just had to keep doing that. Oh, nice.
Thanks.
Nice.
That is-
So
I'm a comedian. So.
So wait, how the Samantha and Maria story ends up with her breaking the plates and going
Yeah. Because
Oh, yeah, she's
Samantha's
like-
we do too much talking, like and not enough fucking. I want passion. I want fireworks. And she's like, you want fireworks? And she starts breaking the plates, which I love.
Yeah.
And I also love her hair. It's so long.
And you pointed out Samantha is like cowering in the
Samantha,
corner,
yeah,
covering with the
wraps herself in the curtains, and
curtains.
she's like, ah.
Don't you think Maria practices Santeria or some sort of witchcraft? She really kind of seems like it a little bit. Like she seems like she has some sort of like
Dark mysticism.
Yeah, like
Okay, that feels racist.
oh yeah, I just meant witchcraft in general. I didn't mean
know.
it. I didn't mean a certain
Yeah.
kind of. I didn't mean like.
I don't know.
Oh,
what
I
that
mean
is.
that.
Yeah.
She just has a weird vibe about her. Like she
No,
might be a witch.
she's a witchy woman. Absolutely.
That's what I mean. I guess more of a witchy
I like
woman.
Maria. Maybe it's because I'm a Cancer that I'm
didn't
like, I
think-
like it.
I didn't say I didn't like her. I just feel
I know.
like she might have brought that cat back to life that Sean killed.
She definitely brought the ghost to Miranda's apartment.
I believe so. Oh yeah, but then she bought Miranda.
In my notes, I say this is halfway through, so it must have been early-ish in the episode. Predict this is the end of the relationship, and then John called the strap on, which
You did.
Point John. 1 point John.
1 point John.
It's the only thing I've ever called in a show ever, by the way.
John
I usually swing and miss on all those.
John got pegged so hard by that episode.
Oh, nailed it.
But I feel like they kept it go. Like, it's funny that they did that, but then she still after was like, "Yeah, I want out." So I feel like there's one episode left.
Yeah, because she bought her that strap on. And
No, I think she's done. She showed up to the bar sore, and she was like, "Never again. I'm done." I think she's done.
Yeah, and Samantha, like they say, I think the
voiceover.
The voiceover says like that Samantha knew that she couldn't be in a relationship, but she was still like, well, let's just try it out.
Yeah.
Classic Samantha.
Do you think we'll see her again? You think we'll see Maria again?
Samantha?
I mean, she knows.
You think we'll see?
Yeah, I have seen the episodes. I don't think so,
Yeah.
Huh.
but I could be wrong. No, I'm pretty sure that's
I
done.
think maybe Samantha and Bunny might hook up.
I feel.
Give it a go.
Well, let's go to that because this was Bunny was on display.
Dude.
Oh,
I don't know about
man.
you guys, but I got such a Oedipus
Yes,
Oedipal
right.
level rock hard dick the whole time.
Yeah,
Just
I
thinking
saw
about
that. I
when
saw
my mom
your-
would put a
True.
fucking note in my little lunch bag, I'd get to school, I'd pull it out, and it was like, "I love you," and I'm just like, "Yeah, I'm gonna feel that type of love." I'm just kidding.
This took a really different turn.
Really took a different turn.
Well, I
Wow.
mean, let's get into the boundaries that they don't have.
No, let's get into you and your mom.
Yeah.
I love my mom.
Yeah, I mean, it seems that way.
I love my mom. I
Based
feel
on
like
your
my
rock
mom-
hard dick alone.
I feel like okay, let's take the humor out of it and really say it is true that there's nothing like a mother's love. Trey did not handle that appropriately.
Well, no, I mean, yeah. If you're gonna like look at it from like a Freudian point of view or something
I'm trying to give Trey a chance, and then we can demolish him.
all we are
Trey is a nightmare.
But I mean,
Give
yeah.
Trey a chance.
Ugh.
Trey needs boundaries with his mom because it is true. It's like the bond that you have with your mom is wild, and that's why it's so.
See, I'm
fucked
tracking
up.
with you until we get to dust ruffles, and dust ruffles need to
Right.
be on every single bed. I don't.
Listen,
That's all
You love
Bunny was-
dust ruffles.
I love.
That's a big
my
part of
that
your
was my
personal
nickname in high
brand.
school.
at least Bunny left when she saw him fuck,
It's true.
rather than being like.
And she was shook.
It took her a second though.
Yeah.
She didn't just be like, "Oh
She had
no."
muffins.
She became fucking
started
Julie Andrews
spasming,
and
yeah.
Mary Bush was like, "Woo!"
So wait,
Yeah, are you talking about Julia Child
Yeah,
or
right.
Julie Andrews?
yeah, Julie Andrews is
Julie
sounding
Andrews.
right?
Different women, but
Yeah.
maybe there's some
same first
similarities. Yeah.
Yeah.
Same first name.
So wait, the first thing was Bunny lying down on the bed and in Bed Bath and
Well,
Beyond. or
the
whatever
first
they
thing
were.
I think is that she's like talking about how they need to redecorate the apartment
That's
because
what
there's
it
all
is.
these
Yeah,
duck
yeah.
decoys, and so then they're going to get a new mattress, and then Bunny shows up,
Yeah,
and
classic Bunny sneaking in where Charlotte turns her head and then turns back and
Yeah.
Bunny's there.
Oh, yeah.
Horror movie, ghost style.
Yeah.
If you look in the theme of the show, ghost
Yeah.
style.
Good call. I would have never picked up on that.
Well, Bunny
You know.
Bunny definitely is. I don't know if they said explicitly, but it definitely is like it's like this person from someone's past that will not
Yeah.
leave. It's the same.
Bunny's a specter.
She is, but it's the exact same thing as Aidan is to Carrie.
yeah,
It's this-
or Samantha's relationships are to Maria. It's like
because
Bunny is that to Charlotte.
it's a past relationship that is like not shifting, and it's like you would expect. You're like it's supposed to change, and your mom's supposed to back off. But,
right.
Um,
She don't-
I
she
don't
don't
know.
do it.
I feel like the shit they're doing with Trey is the most surprising, and Bunny and Charlotte is the most surprising thing about the season because Charlotte has and Trey have needed more, and the stuff they're doing is so interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Trey is a really funny character. I mean, like it's the least attractive thing I can imagine. Like that character is very, I mean, makes my dick so limp. Which has that come up with him yet?
Yeah,
Yeah.
That,
Okay,
that
cool.
was,
Yeah.
that was the right after the marriage thing. Well, that's why we were saying it's so interesting because like right after the marriage, the whole impotency thing couldn't get
Yeah.
it up. And then we were like, oh, they're done. And now he's just come back in the weirdest ways. It's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
It's really, really good.
No, it's so funny, I think.
I think the writers in the offseason were just like, it doesn't make sense that he's going to break it off with Charlotte because he's so into Jugs magazine, and Kristen Davis has the jugs to satisfy Trey. We got to write this.
She's a real life.
What's that actor's name? He acts the shit
Kyle
out of that
MacLachlan.
part. He
Kyle
does
MacLachlan.
such
Love
a
him.
good
Yeah.
Twin
He's-
Peaks.
job.
It's so funny because we just heard people talk about how shitty Trey is, and I guess I make sense that people make jokes about him. But watching this through and expecting Trey to be a shitty character, he's so good.
It's great comedic fodder.
Yeah.
And the scene.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so the scene where Bunny and Charlotte are having a contest of rubbing Vic's vapor rub on
Right.
his chest. that
so
was
good.
bananas.
Yeah.
That was ridiculous. And Bunny was like, "No, you're going too low. You don't know how to
I
do
mean,
it
to
right.
be-
Don't do it on his
to
tummy,
be
Charlotte.
fair-
You're trying to break up his phlegm."
To be
look
fair,
at
Charlotte.
how fucking happy Bunny is and how horrified. I'm showing him a picture
When they're
of
on the
them
bed?
when they're all on the bed.
I mean, if you need stronger imagery than that, I mean, the three of them laying on a
Yeah.
bed,
And then
like,
Trey just
both
say-
of them competing for Trey.
And then Trey saying how awesome it was. He was like,
Right.
"This is great."
Yeah.
To be fair, Charlotte was rubbing it on his tummy and not his chest.
That's true.
So
But she was flustered because if
His
you're
mother was there?
you know, as a woman, if my husband's mother-in-law came in and did something like that, that would be crazy. That would be fucking crazy.
Yeah.
do you have, and I guess you don't need to get deep into it, but do you have a good relationship with your mother-in-law, or are there just because that is the in-laws thing? And then I'll ask you too, but it's like the in-laws thing is clearly difficult because it's in every single thing ever. Everyone always talks about it, but I've never had in-laws.
I do have a good relationship with my mother-in-law, but like also the very first time I met her, I guess she had seen a picture of me, and then my now husband brought me to the hospital when his sister was giving birth, and so I met her in the waiting room, which is kind of a crazy place to
Yeah.
meet
yeah, totally.
her for the first time as, you know, a new girlfriend. And she looked at me and like I said, she had seen a picture of me and she goes, "Oh, you know, you're actually very pretty." And I was like, huh. And she kind of puts her foot in her mouth a lot. And I sincerely hope she doesn't listen to this, but,
Don't worry. She probably won't.
but I love her. She's, you know, she's sort of intense, but it's not like edible.
Well, what's wild is like I was joking about it earlier, the sexual thing, but it's
Yeah.
like I love my mom and I love my dad, but I can totally see the second any of the legitimate flaws I see in my mom, that there was like some new person that's like, your mom needs to be better. I'd be like, that's my fucking mom.
Right.
You know, so that's why in-laws. You have fucking cool in-laws. You're fucking
Oh, my in-laws are
dad-in-laws
great.
in a band,
I have,
plays
like-
bass, right?
Yeah,
Sick.
I love my in-laws. They're fantastic. Like my mom and Katie's mom are about as opposite as people can be, but they're both such lovely, wonderful people. It's like their differences are fine. It's
So
just-
I was engaged to a girl once, and her mom was the head of the Orange County Republican Women's Association,
Ooh.
and her dad sat me
Hitler.
down. Her dad was he told me, because I'm an actor, and he told me, he's like, you need to find a more steady line of work. And I was like, yeah, I know it's like difficult. He's like, because years from now, you know, they're gonna have computers doing that.
Doing acting?
Yes, and I was like, well, and what do you mean? He's like, they're gonna have computers doing the acting. I was like, well,
but regulating women's bodies is something a man will always have to do.
Sure.
there will always be
Maybe
a job for
consider
that.
that.
There will always
Maybe-
be a human being required to do that.
A computer can't figure out the algorithm because women keep
Consider-
changing it.
The nuances of Peter Dinklage acting, we'll figure that shit out. But telling you that you can't smoke a natural plant, that's a man's job.
Dude, I'm not
So true.
I told him, I was like, well, even if they did that, they could still. He's like, you know, they can draw it. You see what they do with the animation? I was like, they're
They
still
can
going to need
draw
a
you.
voice. He's like, if they can do the visuals, you don't think they can figure out a computer to do the voice too?
That is just like, but I expect
Was he
the next.
Southern?
He wasn't, but the
Okay.
vibe was southern.
I get it.
As
But if they're Republicans, they're Southern.
as a
Sure, sure.
Southerner, I find that offensive, and I
Yeah.
totally understand.
He
what
grew
you're
up in
saying.
Texas. He was born and grew up in Texas. So
All right,
so
let's
country.
let's start with Miranda,
In-laws are difficult.
Steve, Carrie, Aidan.
that's
Also, Ghost.
and
Ghost is the fifth
ghost.
wheel
And
here.
Ghost.
Yeah, ghost.
What do we think? Was it a real ghost?
Wait, Miranda's ghost?
Miranda's ghost.
No.
it was a way for them to get into the. No, the ghost wasn't real. Maybe you would disagree.
I mean, I don't know. I can't say. I am a Ghost enthusiast, and I love that they did that literal interpretation of the theme that she had a ghost, and she was like, and also I love that she was like, the landlord let me in upstairs and nobody's there.
I know.
Yeah, yeah.
There was a thing that I was like, I live in New York and there's just noises all the time.
Yeah.
So there's kind
also
of a thing.
ghosts.
Well, there's also ghosts.
Okay.
You're
Have
right.
you had an experience with a ghost?
No, but I'm just like into reading other people's experiences, and I believe that they exist, but no, I don't.
Okay.
I don't have any real firsthand
Yeah.
experiences.
I don't think I do. I think I've been around some spooky things, but I can't ever be like, I
Yeah.
saw a ghost.
I don't believe that they exist, and I've never had an experience. So, I think that's just me as a person. I would need to experience it in order to
Yeah.
believe it.
Yeah.
But
Fair enough.
I do like reading about it, and I think it makes for fun stories.
Let's go from here. What is it like, especially in, what is it like to have an ex and then be haunted by that? Because there was the real.
If the ex died and they come back,
Exactly.
like the movie
it's just
Ghost
a movie
Dad.
Ghost.
It's the movie Ghost Dad with
Right.
Bill Cosby.
I think the
doesn't
only
age
reason
well.
that formula works is if your ex is successful in some way.
Right. I was gonna say that's a big part of it is that they're successful.
Yeah, because-
Aiden looks better.
Well, I will say
Yeah.
maybe that, but also what if you're just in the same like social circles? Let's say it was Steve's bar open and Aiden didn't help, but then it was like Aiden's going to be there. Carrie would be haunted by it then, I would think. Like I think it's just the presence.
but it
of
would be
them
less
around.
of a thing.
It's less of a thing.
That's
Yeah.
probably where the conversation started in the writer's room. And they're like, why couldn't Steve and Aiden have connected? Because when you see them on that date, that's like a fucking Jedi level writing to just
Yeah.
show them on the
Oh.
sidewalk. And now you're like, these motherfuckers, they probably just like went on a double date, vibed because they're both cool.
Yeah, I love.
And now they're opening a bar together.
I love that they're friends because I love their. It's almost like the big dog and the little dog in like Looney Tunes where it's like, hey Spike, what are we gonna do? Like they seem like there's such a Steve thing of like, hey Aiden, why don't you come in and we can do a toast?
Yeah.
He's like, all right, I'll be there in a second, buddy.
Yeah.
I mean, that is one of the best things you can get out of they made off the best in the breakups.
Oh yeah,
Steve and
yeah.
Aidan get each other. They probably had, but we didn't see the 10 drunken nights they had together where they just put it all
He was
out
like,
there.
fuck that bitch. She cheated on me.
Yes, I bet Steve.
I
They
always
set
liked her,
Big
but-
Buck Hunter records. Like they just went out and friggin' painted it up.
Yeah.
Steve got Aiden so hammered because Steve probably has a crazy high tolerance, and he was just
Right.
like, Aiden, open up,
As a
man.
bartender, I would assume so.
Yeah, exactly. And then Aiden's like a little repressed, but then Aiden's a monster. He's got all this unchecked like primal rage from building furniture.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
And I feel like it comes out later in the show, not to like give
Shit,
anything
anger
away.
issues. I can't even imagine John
Do you think
Corbett.
it started out
Does he get together
Steve?
Does he get together and break plates with Maria?
With Bunny, actually.
With Bunny.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Do you think Steve initially approached him to be on his basketball team because he's 6'6"? Could play,
I bet.
could play like a
That's
good
so
rec
true.
league center.
Easy.
And he was like, no, that's not really my thing, but I'll be a silent partner in your bar.
I'll buy the
And
jerseys.
I'll
for the team
invest
as
with
well.
all my furniture money.
And if he did it, he would just keep on just because he's tall, you thought he'd be good, but he keeps on traveling and turning the ball over, and it's like, come on.
Dude, come on. That's me in every sport. You're built like an athlete, but you suck at everything.
Well, do you find? I feel like in smaller towns it's probably worse because it's smaller, but I feel like New York is a rough place to have exes. Or is it just rough all around?
No, it's probably
There's
rough
so
all
many
around.
landmarks.
I will say that I had an ex that I was always like, we never ran into each other ever. And I remember I was like taking a class one block like across the street from her office. And so like every week I was like,
Oof.
oh shoot. But
Scary.
so I think it's rough because you end up in the same places, but it never happened. We never, one time I crossed the sidewalk the same time as her roommate and we just didn't make eye contact. But I do think it's rough because at any point you could pop up and see someone because that happens with people all the time.
Yeah, but New York
Like
is
we
so-
ran into each other on the sidewalk one
Yeah,
day.
yeah.
And so like that,
I was in a neighborhood I don't normally go to, though.
which is interesting because I'm not, it was like a Sunday afternoon, I think. And like you were sitting outside at a restaurant. I was walking down the street and I was like, oh, that's my friend Emily. And so it's like that can happen. So even if you don't see an extra, like at any point, this landmine could pop up out of nowhere.
Sure.
I do think it was pretty surprising that Miranda seemed her interaction with Steve seemed so positive, and then she
Yeah.
was very intent on not going. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. She got carried.
No, well, I think she just wanted Carrie to go with her. I think that she was going to go, but she kept being like, Like she seemed like she wanted to go, but she was like, please come with me for support.
Well,
like I need support.
Carrie was the one that initially pushed her to go. Carrie was like, you have to go.
Yeah.
Before she knew Aidan was involved.
Right. And then Carrie pulled a classic Carrie and she's like, Aidan's going to be there. I'm way more important than you. I'm out. We're not going.
Wait, so what did you think about when Carrie ended up going and then she realized, or she realized she wasn't invited by Aidan?
Right.
So
Carrie cannot go through this life without everything always has to be about Carrie all the time.
Yeah.
Everything. Even when Miranda had a ghost issue, Carrie showed up and was like, do you think that's Aidan will know the plant is from me? It's like, pump the brakes, girl. Like the world is not revolving around you, although the TV show is.
Do you think at the end, so Carrie goes outside, she sees Aidan.
I think that scene is so cringy.
Wait, which one? The one where she sees him across the cake one?
Actually, I guess both. Like the fact that like she looks at him across. I mean, they're literally looking at each other across a crowded bar. He's an owner, so
yeah,
clearly
it's his party.
It's his party.
Yeah.
It's not about you. And then she's just like, oh, that's all I get.
Yeah.
It's like, bitch, you cheated on him.
Yes.
This is his bar opening. You showed up. He didn't invite you. What do you expect?
Yeah.
He like nodded at you. He
freak
made it.
out.
It was nice. He smiled at you rather than rolling his eyes.
Yeah,
Right.
He acknowledged you.
Or like,
Or telling your hors d'oeuvre waitresses to get her the hell out of
Did
there.
you notice that he kind of
Shooting you
nodded his
daggers.
head at her? Do you think he did that because his head was too heavy to hold up? He's just like, oh God, my head is
I've had
that's
too
just
much
what he
of-
does. Yeah.
But then he sees her. Then I wonder if Steve told him that he's coming.
I have a question.
Okay.
I was wondering if there is, I just wonder how Aidan and Steve met. I wonder, like, because that's not a scene. We don't know where that came from.
Okay. Well,
Let's see if
It's a favorite time. It's a favorite guy. It's Steve Talk.
welcome to Steve Talk. We took a little bit of a break, but we're back with Steve Talk, a podcast within a podcast where we
Nice.
talk all things Steve. And I think in this episode, it'd be really wonderful if maybe Steve and Aidan could
like to play Aidan?
Would you like to play Aidan?
Sure.
Could potentially
My Aidan voice.
could we listen into maybe their first meeting?
yeah. For context, their first meeting would have been when they were dating the girls. I guess was that? No, actually, you know what? No, we're gonna blow the universe up. Who knows when it is?
This is just Steve and Aidan meeting each other for the first time.
Hey, excuse me. I didn't mean to bump into you. I'm trying to get this entire netted bag of basketballs from the West 4th all the way down to the courts in Basketball City in Chinatown.
Yeah, that's cool. I was just polishing this furniture that I made, so I didn't see you there, bud.
Yeah, but it's okay. You know, whoa. Yeah, I could say you didn't see me. The gleam is so bright, it's kind of blinding me. What do? You're a carpenter? Like Jesus?
Well, I'm actually kind of a furniture maker, and that's just a special varnish that I developed. But hey, don't I know you? Don't our girlfriends just hang out like every single day, even though they're 30-something-year-old women who are professional and supposedly have lives? But yeah, they just see each other every day, pay for meals every single day in restaurants.
Are you, you're the big head dude?
Yeah, that's me.
Aidan!
That's right. Yeah.
Oh my God, nice to meet you. They're at brunch right now. They've been there for 6 hours.
Yeah, I know.
Hey, I got a crazy idea. One day I want to open a bar. But first, I need a 6-man on the court.
Okay, well, first of all, I need to ask you, do you like dogs? Because that's a big part of my personality.
I love dogs.
Okay, great.
I have a dog named Scout, I think. Also, I think I remember Carrie telling me sometimes you just throw your dog across the room.
Sure, yeah, that's me. I also tell people to quit smoking sometimes.
Hey, listen, you seem a little forceful, but I feel like you're good at heart. Want to be buds?
Yeah, why not?
Hey, Aidan.
Steve?
Let's hit the courts. Hey,
Steve Talk. We don't need the end. Do we need the end?
It's a podcast. It's a podcast within a podcast. We need to play it out.
Steve Talk.
That one was good. That was good.
I'm
trying to find an ending on that one, but I think it's just that it doesn't end. They just stay friends.
Yeah, they just stay friends. They just keep talking.
I'm gonna do a quick spoiler alert. We actually don't have Steve in the studio. It's Cory doing. The
Yeah,
Steve
that's
impression.
true.
That's a really good Steve
Your
impression.
tongue does something when you Steve talk. You look like when Jabba the Hutt is getting strangled by Slave Leia. Your tongue is like doing all sorts.
Yeah,
It's really. I love watching.
It's not easy to being Steve.
and
that's true.
And
It's not easy being Steve.
I love that Aidan just knew about the varnish he was using. It was a fully
craftsman.
3-dimensional Aidan that walked in.
That was.
Yeah.
I like that.
you.
Aidan
That
was a full
Steve talk was better written than season 8 of Game of Thrones.
All right, so I think everything in my nuts. I have Budget Army Hammer, which is the guy that killed his cat.
Right.
Asshole.
I have
His
on my
girlfriend.
notes, would you fuck your mom? No, but that's just the thought.
Big
that,
theme
that
for
we
you.
have.
Wait, would Trey fuck Bunny?
He is in his dreams.
They have. I mean, I think they
They
have.
have. They're not going to show that on Game of Thrones. They needed to wait a few years and put it on Game of Thrones.
Dude, that's why the mallard's not allowed in the bedroom. It's seen too much.
The mallard has seen too much.
Emily, you had a couple fashion calls during this episode.
Oh, yeah. Well, yes. At one point I said that's a strong Carrie look, and she was wearing this. I mean, you could only see the top of the dress, and it was like sort of asymmetrical, and it also sort of looked almost Christmassy. Like it was white with a print that had like green and red little flowers on it. But the strongest look is from Samantha when she goes to scout. She's wearing a black dress that's like slinky and sexy, and it has gold chain straps, and she's wearing gold gloves and a giant like fake diamond ring on the pinky finger.
I feel like that dress did that because I saw that all around for a while, and I feel like was that when it happened? The dress with the like almost I'm
The
stupid.
chain straps?
but yeah, chain straps are like
I don't know.
because I feel like I started seeing that probably right around this time. That's like when I was going to school dances and stuff.
Huh. I don't know. I don't
yeah.
remember that being a big trend, but
North
I may not
Carolina.
have had my finger on the pulse at that time.
All the girls at your school dances walking into that dress and then opening a box with a strap on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
My
I was just
girlfriend
like,
got me this.
I was like, all right, I'm in theater club. I guess this is what you do.
Yeah.
I have a question real quick before we get to our ending. And I'll ask this and then we can get to our ending. So the scene where Aidan and Carrie outside and he's smoking a cigar, kind of a weird big thing. He's kind of smoking a
Right.
big cigar.
Yes.
So there's that. He's smoking and he doesn't smoke and he's like having a cigar. So he's kind of biggish. Carrie walks out with a martini and a piece of cake. He feeds it to her.
Ugh.
And he's like, but he's engaging her. And
He's being
then-
very flirty.
He's being very flirty, and then he kind of ditches her, and he's like, "I got to go back inside with Steve to do a toast." Do you think that there? And then Carrie's bummed because she's basically kind of like paying for what she did.
Yeah.
Do you think there's an analogy
Hardly.
there? Yeah, hardly. Is there an analogy there? Is there some sort of like you can't have your cake and eat
Oh.
it too? Is
Well-
there a cake and eat it too thing with that moment? Because it's like cake comes out of nowhere.
Okay, well, there's a line where he says, "Oh, so now you want the cake?"
Yes, exactly.
And she goes, "I never not wanted it," and that's obviously just steeped in subtext.
Yes, totally. Like
call.
there's a whole cake, and then he's like, you
Maybe
got
it's
some frosting
tiramisu
on
and
it.
it's steeped in espresso as well.
Oh, maybe.
No, I think it's subtext.
No, it's not fucking espresso. No,
All right,
I think that's very observant.
A lot of symbolism.
I
there.
never would have picked that up because I'm an idiot. Let's do our Cosmo rating.
Okay, so what we do, John, explain it.
You go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm an idiot. So every episode we rate it from 1 to 5 cosmos. You can do half or quarter cosmos, and since you've seen the entire series, you can rate it on a scale for the entire series. We're going to rate it for what we've seen till now. You can think about that. We'll go ahead and do ours
Okay.
and talk about it, and then you can be thinking. Okay,
You guys got yours?
I got mine. Boys,
Can we go in a circle rather than doing it at the same time?
Sure.
sure. Corey, you
You
go
go first.
Yeah.
I'm giving it a 4.75.
Wow,
5.0.
that's high. Wow,
John, Kevin.
a perfect score.
Yeah. Kevin? Is this why you didn't want to do it at once? Because
Yeah.
you wanted to, because you
I don't know what I want to give it now.
you want us to talk and then you go?
Yeah, I have never been so conflicted.
Wow. Even when you were thinking
I'll
about
start,
having sex with your mom.
I
Yeah,
loved this
not
episode.
conflicted about that.
I think, like you said, it's a super iconic episode. The idea of ghosts from past episodes is a concept that we can relate to as humans of ghosts in our relationships, but then tying together with characters that we've known and loved. And everyone but Samantha had a character relevant to their life come back to the show. Samantha's storyline was really funny. And although the guy murdered a cat in real life, I thought he played the perfect asshole. Loved the Bunny Trey stuff. Loved Miranda and Steve. Loved her actual ghost. Loved seeing Aidan again and Aidan and Steve. This was a perfect episode. There was nothing wrong with it.
I 4.75. I was going to do 4.5, then I bumped it up because I felt like I've said it before, I love a good theme. And then I love it in a filmmaking way where they're like, Charlotte turns her head and she turns back and all of a sudden Bunny's there.
Right.
Like
I loved that when she sneaks up on her. That's amazing.
Yeah, it was great. So I love like the actual little tilts or like little hat tips to ghosts. I love Aidan and Steve being buds. It's the best. And then I felt like they were real emotional watershed moments in it. And that's why it kicked it up.
Where are you taking a quarter point off then?
I'm taking a quarter point off because I've only given one perfect episode and I forget what that was. I feel like there's got to be
which one that was.
It might have been the one where we met Aidan, which I if that is, I regret giving that a perfect. I just feel like there's going to be one or two perfects in the future. And I don't know if this was it. It's hard. I don't know.
Again, yeah, you can only judge it on what you've seen.
Exactly.
I
Loved it.
I'll say this. I'm giving it a 4.75 as well.
Because you like Cory more than me.
No, and this is why, because there were moments during that I'm like, I want to throw this at 5.0, but I didn't feel the initial impulse to, and I still don't yet. I will say this. One of the best episodes I've seen so far. I would say the level of emotional impact paired with straight up just ridiculous humor is almost unmatched in television. Like there's some really lame goofs that were just knocked out of the park. Like the bunny, there was just some amazing stuff.
You two are forgetting that Charlotte, Trey, and Bunny were in a bed together.
Yeah, true.
You're forgetting that.
Also, Kim Cattrall did some killer acting in this. She did great acting. Like
Yeah,
the bathtub
great
scene, great acting.
Right.
Also, Miranda and Steve, they had a moment. I feel like it's going to lead to stuff. Anyway.
Yeah, so
Miranda and Steve, yeah.
So I'm giving it a 4.75. I feel conflicted because I don't know. Maybe we'll have at the end of all this, we'll have series where we go back and we reassess and we give this a 5. I feel like I want to give it a 5, but I don't naturally feel that impulse. But it was as good as any Sex and the City episodes that I've seen.
Yep.
I want to give it a 4.25. And I don't even know what I'm docking points for. I feel like I have a hard time giving something a perfect score just because I don't know. It didn't feel like perfect, but it is really strong. And like you said, there are emotional watershed moments, and the Bunny Trey stuff is so funny. I find it really funny how over the top it is. And like I mentioned, it's canon. It's a real pivotal episode. It kind of sets up a lot of stuff that's about to happen, and also harkens back to things that have happened in the past. Some good outfits. Carrie being fairly selfish, but not like as selfish as she can be.
Yeah.
She certainly can be more selfish and terrible, and she will be.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, the Carrie Aidan relationship, I just like, I just don't like it. But I get it. Yeah, I just feel bad for Aidan. But
Yeah.
So one final question, then we'll sign off. Just yes, are you a big or Aidan person? If you could just say one word on it.
I think I'm a big person more.
Interesting.
Yeah, for some reason, again, I prefer the more like aloof kind of dickish dude. I get that Aidan is a good dude, but I also think he's so corny a lot. I don't think he deserves, what she did to him, but I just like Big more. He's got more of like a je ne sais quoi.
Yeah. Where can we find you on social media?
You can find me on Twitter or Instagram at a pretty big mouth, just spelled like how all those words are spelled together.
A pretty big mouth.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for
being
having
on.
me.
Yeah.
This is so fun.
Yeah,
So
it was
fun.
awesome.
And it was so fun to like watch like an important episode.
Yeah.
Like it
I know.
feels like an honor when you're like, oh my gosh, This is like an
I know.
important moment.
I feel honored to have been able to discuss this particular episode with the Bradshaw Boys.
Thank you for doing it.
Go to Max Fish.
Yeah.
When's your next show?
I don't know if the episode's going to air before my next show, but I run a monthly comedy show, Dreamweavers, at Max Fish, the last Sunday of every month.
Cool.
Perfect.
Awesome. Go to
Yeah.
Dreamweavers. And don't order a mojito there.
No.
No.
Get
we
a vodka soda or a Tecate.
don't. Yeah, we don't have freshmen.
All right.
All right.
Rate us on iTunes.
Yep. Do that too.
Rate them.
Bye.
Bye.
The Bradshaw Boys stars Cory Cavin, Jon Sieber, and Kevin James Doyle. The show is produced by Jeremy L. Balon. For more information on the guys, check out their website at bradshawboys.com, on social media at The Bradshaw Boys. And if you see them in the street, tip your glass. Thanks for listening.
Oh, these are where they just get so good. Oh, you guys are just in for so much fun. All right.